And we are live. Yvonne,
We are.
Hi. How
We are live. I'm really well, thanks, Effie. How about you?
Relaxed, I think. Too relaxed to the extent that we forgot.
Too relaxed. Too relaxed.
Like
Is that
2
possible?
minutes ago. That's okay.
Oh, well, as always, a joy and a pleasure to be with you, and to anyone who is tuning in, thank you so much. We are always grateful for those of you who join us when we're live, but also for all of those that leave comments and etc. after as well. And as you will know if you have been watching, and in case you haven't, that we're showing up each week, and what we're doing is really myth busting all of these narratives and stories and phrases that have shaped the way that we show up, or how we think, how we feel, how we behave, and that have not only shaped us, but generally these particular phrases have kept us small. They've kept us small because we've bought into them, and we have been living from them, with them, by them. And one of the beautiful things about this work, and we call it mental fitness, positive intelligence, whatever terminology sits, that's by the by. But the whole point is that when we can identify these phrases and really kind of break down what they are, where they're coming from, so we would call like what saboteurs are bringing those things to the surface, we really have the opportunity then to do something about it. So we kind of talk through it here, but dare I say that when we have our challenges and when people are in our community, we do the real practical work of breaking those behaviors and thought patterns so that this becomes ease and flow. And we do not keep on falling into the same trap over and over again, right?
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like everything that we do in so many respects, because a lot of us do try and find ways to change our behaviors and things, but not necessarily for a long time. They're not sustainable. I mean, the number of times I've been to courses, to retreats, to speeches, and I was sure I was going to do things differently, only to find myself doing exactly the same things, like maybe 3 days later, if not, the evening of the same day, something finished. So the work that we do is more to do with like sustainability. It's to make sure that those practices are really embedded in us. We are breaking down those myths, like one step at a time, but also building something up to create that ease and flow. And as you have seen, if you have seen us from the beginning, probably you can notice with us the ease and flow and how it's building over the months, almost over the years, we can say now, that we've been doing these lives and how we show up. So yeah, today what are we talking about, Yvonne? The myth we're busting.
Oh, I tell you, it's going to be, I want to say it's one of my favorites, but it's not, but I really recognize it and know it really well. And it's the financial fear, the whole myth. Now, first of all, can I just say, when we say something like financial fear and the myth, that we are not saying that if your financial situation is in a really tricky place, a dire, that it's not true and it doesn't exist. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying are the stories that are running underneath it, that are telling you can't do anything about it, there's no way out, are potentially the stories that need to be addressed, right? So I think that that's really important to know, because somebody may be watching saying, well, who are you to be telling me? I know what state my finances are in. And I probably would have been one of those people. So I'm cutting some slack because I know what that would be like. But the first phrase that we're going to look at under that banner is, I can't afford it. Who here has said, I can't afford it?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Such a, you know, in my world, that was such a phrase. It was, you know, and it was almost as if I can't afford it, therefore it cannot be done. That it was just it was a complete block and a barrier. I can't afford it. That's it. There was no thinking beyond that. There was no thinking, what would I need to do to change? Never. There was none of that going on. It was just, I can't afford it. And that whole sense that comes up with that of I can't afford it goes back to the sense of less than, like, gosh, I can't even do that. I can't even pay for this. I can't, all of that stuff. So it's not just the phrase itself, it's everything else that you tag to it that comes back to feeling like, well, you know, gosh, if I can't even buy this or do that, there's no hope. That sense of hopelessness almost.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, it can be a paralyzing sentence, or like something that we tell ourselves. And it has nothing to do with not recognizing that some of us do have, you know, financial issues. And some of us have bigger than others, but the bottom line is acknowledging it and start doing something about it. I think that I can't afford it, especially when it's used in that victimhood, the victim sense. It stops you from like finding solutions, because by itself the phrase is like really limiting. There is no like seeing further than that. And when you are in this situation, I know I've been there, it's very hard to see what's next, because everything is limiting you in that sense of like, okay, now I need to do something to survive. Forget about all the beautiful things and what would be nice to have, and I don't know what. We're talking about really the basics, and you can never like look in a, how do you call it, in like into hope if you don't feel that you have the basics. But in order to have the basics, you need to have the hope. So it becomes a vicious cycle. So you need to get to that state where you say, okay, this is it. This is where I am at. And now let's find solutions. Because that's the only way to get out of it. And it can only be done one step at a time, right? Otherwise, it becomes unreasonable. It becomes like a wishing thing. Yes, I'm not going to say I can't afford it, but I wish I had this and that, but we're not talking about this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to understand, when we use this language, we are literally speaking scarcity into self. So it's also, you know, what am I speaking into myself? I'm just speaking scarcity. And when we start to do that, of course, then it's the fear that we'll never have enough, we'll never be able to. And then, you know, the thought of investing in ourselves becomes like, I can't even dream about that right now. It seems so many million miles away. So just understanding that language can have a huge impact. And if you are also in a situation where that phrase has been kind of almost passed on to you from previous generations as well, so it runs deep, now it's much deeper, it's rooted in what you've been told, You know, don't expect to be able to do that, and you will never have enough to do that, or you can't, you know, all of those kind of phrases that feed into and lift that up. They're just they're debilitating. They are debilitating. And you also lose that sense of worth, that, well, you know, I can't invest in myself. I don't have what it takes to invest in myself. Therefore, I can't move from where I am. You know, and I would say that if you've ever kind of got to that place, just to step back and what's the truth in that? What's the truth in that? Because we have access to so many things now, free and paid, if we're talking from the monetary perspective, right? Free and paid that we can access. So where we could actually be saying, what is possible for me right now, right where I am, with what I have got? What is doable from this place? And let me do that. Because even if that is, you know, doing a list of things, you know, I need to, so even if it's about, you know, debt, and like, what are all those things? And instead of ignoring them or hiding from them and avoiding them, let's deal with this. Because the sooner I can get through this and start clearing up, the sooner money can start flowing in. You know, whilst you're hiding from everything and pretending it doesn't exist and it's not there, you're kind of cutting off the opportunity to change that situation.
Absolutely. And you know, you did say the right thing there, like not hiding from it. Like if, for example, you're in debt or there are things that you need to come up with in order to go through your month, writing those down, making sure that you are absolutely aware of what is there and what needs to be gained and what is like I don't know if it's the right word, gain, but like, you know, to get the right amounts and what is needed, that gives you that sense of control that you need in order to start doing something about it. Because I think that is the biggest lie, that you cannot do anything about it.
Yes.
Or it keeps you small, it stops you from like becoming resourceful. And
Indeed.
we are very resourceful if we want to be, right?
Yeah.
So there is even the simplest thing, like, you know, asking yourself to come up with ideas, even if they are outrageous ideas, on how can I make money right now? What would it take to make this amount of money and stuff? Even, I don't know, asking ChatGPT to give you ideas. And there are ways, you know, small money or big money, or I don't know what, but just that starts creating that possibility in the mind. And this type of exercises are really good because they give you that sense of like, okay, I'm here right now. What can I do to take a little bit of control back, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more? That's how you can stop the ongoing vicious cycle with this type of language.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just what you said there, what can I? Because it's really easy to get caught in the I can't, I haven't, you know, I don't, and all of that language, which just is reaffirming to that feeling. And then you'll just keep on getting signs and signals that reinforce that even further. So just taking that opportunity to shift from the I can't or I haven't to I can, what does that look like? And I think, like you said, Evan, I kind of love that, because we talk about this a lot in positive intelligence. Go wild with the ideas, even if it sounds ridiculous and wild, and you know, well, they ain't never going to happen, or I'm definitely not going to be doing that. It doesn't matter. Just generate the ideas, because that's about being creative. That's about exploring the possibilities. And who knows, when you put yourself in that state, what might come up for you, right? Because the wisdom is
100%.
within. The wisdom is within.
And also by like doesn't have to be for money or whatever, but like the moment we just become open to the possibility, everything can happen, literally everything, because we are more perceptive with anything that comes our way, and we're more likely to see the opportunity, because all this, like every single phrase that we have myth busted, you know, every single one of them stops you from being open to the possibility. And that is the worst thing that can happen to any human at the end of the day. And with the money, or like with taking time, because time is even a bigger commodity than money. So if you don't have the money to invest yourself, think, how can I invest some time to myself? Because that also works the muscle of like investing to myself. And as Yvonne said, there are so many things in this day and age that you can do for your own growth that cost absolutely nothing but time.
Yeah.
But are you ready to invest that time to yourself?
Definitely. Yes. And that again is that willingness to be open to that. So even if I think that's such a great point, Evie, even if you take the money bit out, it's just like, what time am I willing to give to my situation to do something different, to change it? And I had this conversation, interestingly, yesterday with a friend who is having, quite a challenging time at the moment. And this was that very thing. It's just like, okay, so even if the money isn't available for that thing that you want to do, what are the habits, what are the changes you can make that would change that situation? What are those things, and what does that look like? And interestingly, that kind of landed like, yeah, I know that there are definitely things that I keep on circulating around and going with, and I need to do something about those, because that's the starting point for her.
No, but I think that that is the starting point for every single one of us, because you, like, the moment you start thinking like this, you start bringing growth in your reality. And it doesn't matter. I mean, okay, yes, the financial situations don't change from the one day to the next. And it is okay. And it's not, also there is a lot of fear with a situation, financial situation. There is a lot of shame. There is so much to unpack when you are in this particular situation. So trying and to stick your head out of it for even a little bit, and finding ways to see yourself out of the whole situation eventually, and taking those small steps is very empowering. It is really what any of us need to actually know that this is not forever.
Absolutely. And if it feels like quite crushing in some sort of way, then be open and willing to ask for help, because that's the other thing. Just as you were saying there about the shame and the guilt, and God, I had that all right. So what happens is that you shrink. So you kind of shrink to fit that narrative, to the point that, oh my goodness, how could I possibly speak to somebody about this? This would just be like the worst possible thing. No, the worst possible thing is to stay stuck in that state. That's the worst possible thing. So being willing to say, do you know what, for all that I'm feeling right now, for all the stuff that feels really horrible and sticky and messy, and I'm not feeling good about myself or my life, I know I need to get support. Get the support that you need. Do not stay in that state.
100%. And also, like, I know money, like speaking about money is quite a taboo subject, even in this day and age. But I have found that like talking openly about your circumstances to a friend, to somebody you trust, right? It sort of takes away that sense of shame and of guilt, because not everyone is responsible for their financial situation. There can have been like loads and loads of circumstances that led to this, right? But if you are open and willing to listen to yourself as well, of what it is that this situation brings up,
Yeah.
it's more likely that you will do something about it and that you will turn it around. And everything can be turned around. I remember listening to this book by Bob Proctor, and he was saying, like, no matter where you're at with regards to your, like, the debt situation, taking control, taking control in a sense that, okay, you are putting everything together, on paper exactly what you have and what you owe, and then writing a letter to all the people or banks or whatever that you want it to, and then you just say, okay, I'm taking control of my situation as from today, and I'm willing to give you, I understand that I owe you this month's money, whatever, and I'm willing and I'm able for from here on every month to give you this kind of money. And it doesn't matter how small the amount is. Most people will praise you for doing that, for being really ready to take real control of your situation. And it gives you that sense of like, okay, I'm doing something and there is an end to it.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I would put that down to self-responsibility, because ultimately no one else is responsible. So that's self-responsibility, and that requires those micro actions. They may seem insignificant. You may be thinking, yeah, but I'm staring at this, and now you're just telling me to do this. Yeah, because they are the first steps that need to occur for that to even get a hit, right? So just focus on those micro steps. I think having a confidant, somebody who you do trust, who you can have a conversation with, also helps, because that means that you're not trying to hold all of this inside the body, which can be incredibly hard and damaging, right? So, these are considerations if you're in that situation. And I'm just going to move us on to phrase 2, which is not one that I have used. I've probably heard it not necessarily termed in the same way, but money is hard to come by is the actual phrase. But I've certainly heard sentences where money and hard come in the same sentence, right? It's hard to earn it. It's hard to generate it. It's hard to whatever it. Where do we go with that, Evie?
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, this is more the type of conditioning that we get, as depending on where we grew up and stuff, like, money don't grow on trees and all sorts of languages that language that we have heard, and this is the conditioning, and I have heard more people that actually don't have any financial situation talking about or like this, rather than the first phrase, and being stuck in that sense of like scarcity, even though they have they could have had the freedom that the money can give them, but they're just because they're worried so much about what it will be like if they don't have it, and they don't have that security, and and that keeps them in that sense of like being small, not being able to invest time in themselves or money in themselves just in case. And I have heard the word that money can be hoarded as well, in many respects, and I think this is more about that, rather than anything else.
Yeah, and it is a lot of the internalized beliefs about abundance or lack thereof. You know, there's not enough to go around, there's not enough for everyone, and therefore, like you just said, that hoarding, that holding on to, because oh, it's going to be tough to get this again, or to do this again, or whatever. Instead of understanding that, you know, when we talk about money, money needs to flow. It's an energy, right? So it needs to have the ability to flow. So if we're hoarding, holding on to, not letting go of, you know, we're breaking the flow. We're breaking its natural flow. So how can we possibly expect anything else to come in if we're actually not letting anything go out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is an oxymoron, but yeah, that's the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so I think for me, this is about being able to say to yourself, I can create opportunities for flow and income. And I think this is, again, it's not just telling yourself it for the sake of telling yourself it, it's understanding people are doing this on a daily basis. This is not a make-believe tale. Every day, people are creating opportunities for that flow, for things to come in. So it's what am I doing to create that flow? And what am I doing to block it? What do I need to change? What do I need to do differently? How do I break that circle, cycle, whatever we want to call it?
Yeah, and that's again like about personal responsibility. I'm not saying okay, go and just waste money. I don't believe that's
No.
right. But like what can be done? So money is not that burden that either you don't have any of it, or you have some, or like money should not really create that sense of fear,
Yeah.
that sense of like I know for a very long time, at least for myself, that like even talking about money was giving me that sense of like like I didn't want to know anything. And it's not a very very good space to be, because I mean we all need money
Yes.
in ways and forms, and money is a good tool to have, but that's all it is. It's a tool that can help.
It's energy. It's energy. And like all energy, it must flow. Therefore, that the whole point is, if we are allowing it to flow from us and let it flow back in, that's got nothing to do with wasting it. That's got nothing to do with going off and buying 200 pairs of shoes. That's not what we are talking about or encouraging. You know, if you want to, and you've got that kind of money, you crack on with that. But it is about understanding that you must open. There is a need to, I always call it opening the portals. Like, yeah, my portals are open, I'm ready for the flow.
Yeah.
Because it is a bit about opening yourself up to those possibilities. If you are locking yourself down and away from them, then it's the stagnant energy. Nothing's shifting, nothing's happening. And I think it always comes down to, even when people almost reject it because they think it shows signs of greed and all the other stuff that can come up from it, I'm just like, why? When actually, if you are in the abundant state, you will find a million things to use that abundancy for in a really helpful way. So it's not just about you. It's not just about you hoarding it. It's about who you can help, what you can change. And that is putting it into that system of flow. That's
That's
my
a
take.
very different perspective, isn't it, with regards to wealth, to money. And I think that is like a really good place to like, or a really good way to see money, because we've always and for a very long time been told how bad money is, and then at the same time there is this conflicting thing that okay, yes, but you need money, and but then the people that have money are greedy and horrible and I don't know what, and yeah, but like imagine how many good things are happening because of money. How many good things you could do if you had like the money you wanted, or the energy you want, because it's also that, isn't it? I mean, you can do like great things if you have that good energy and belief and perseverance and consistency with everything that you're doing. So
absolutely, that frequency that we are operating at, and we are all operating at some frequency, is definitely the trigger to pull in or push away that which we desire. 100, that's my belief, 100%. And what I would encourage people to notice is, when does money flow in? Because you might be sitting there thinking, well, it never flows in. But I would say that if you were really being observant, where did that fiver that you didn't even know you had in your pocket turn up from? Like, where did that, it's the little things. When you start to notice those little things, you're suddenly thinking, oh, hold on a moment. They may seem insignificant, irrelevant, and like, what is that in the bigger scheme of things? But actually being able to notice that awareness and have gratitude and expression for it is already changing that energy, that vibe that you're putting into it and around you. I say that because this woman here definitely had those experiences. When I was doing that money mindset work, the change, there was a lot of that needed to happen. It's not there, haven't got, all of the stuff that went with that, to, suddenly noticing, that, suddenly a bill that I had has been halved. How did that happen? Oh, thank you very much indeed. That's flow. I'll take that. And actually really seeing those things that you would otherwise just discard.
it is almost miraculous, isn't it? Yeah. When you are like in that set of mindset, in that state of mind, and then you just like start noticing. I mean, to me, it is more of patterns that like when is like the ups and when is downs, and why is there a cycle that is happening. Noticing that makes such a big difference in how you show up and how you perceive that financial dependence or independence, depending on how you see it or where you're at the time. But I think that noticing and expressing and also feeling the gratitude in the small steps that are happening makes a huge difference in what can happen, what's possible.
Absolutely. And I think, as with so many of our past weeks, we could probably go on and talk about this longer, because more stories of our own, as well as from clients and people that we know, but we're not going to do that. What we are going to do, though, is really encourage you, if you're watching this, or if you watch it on replay, if you have any experiences or stories that you're happy to share, that you're open to sharing, please type them into the comments, because every time we share something, it's an opportunity for somebody else to think, one, it's not just me, and two, there's some light at the end of this tunnel. There is a way, and let's do that. We need more of that. And I always like to refrain from things like must, need, but we need this energy. We need this sense of community and commitment to each other. Our world is crying for it, and it may start in very little things, and we're starting it here. We're starting it here as two women who are passionate about the world around us, and what are we putting into it, and who are we helping, and how are the people that we're helping others. That's a big thing.
Yeah. That was beautifully said, Yvonne. As always, thank you for sharing this space with me.
Thank you.
And our
Thank you.
thoughts.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Evie. Again, a moment of gratitude. Always grateful to have this time with you and to have these conversations, because it's not also about what's happening for the people external from this who might be watching, but also for ourselves, right? This is also food for us too. So just a reminder that at Permission to Thrive, we're here to help you break free from the narratives that keep you caged.
With grace, not grind.
Excellent.
See you later, Yvonne. See you next
Till
Thursday.
next week. Take care.
Bye.